Beginner level, Zeroth tier. Zeroth tier magic is basically the bottom of the barrel in the world of Overlord, the simplest kind of magic that exists in the new world. It doesn't show up in Yggdrasil at all, which makes it completely unique to this world. This tier is meant for people with almost no magical ability, the kind who are still learning the basics or haven't yet reached the level of a true magic caster. Think of it as the kind of magic used by apprentices or students still figuring things out. At this level, spells are so minor that they're often treated like parlor tricks rather than real sorcery. Even if someone can use them, they're not considered a proper spellcaster. These spells exist mainly to handle simple everyday tasks rather than combat or complex rituals. For instance, a Zeroth tier spell can heat up a single bowl or plate of food, something practical but unimpressive. Another spell can create a rough, low-quality paper, the kind that looks a bit discolored. There's also a water creation spell that produces drinkable water, but it tastes less pure compared to the first tier version. Despite being incredibly basic, Zeroth tier spells still consume the same amount of mana as first tier spells. That makes them inefficient and somewhat pointless for most magic users. Because of that, people rarely bother with them unless they absolutely need to. The only reason they exist at all is to give untalented or beginner casters a way to use some kind of magic before they advance further. The creator of Overlord, Maruyama, also connects Zeroth tier magic to a concept called talent. In the new world, a talent is a natural gift that someone is born with. It's not something that you can learn or train. You either have it or you don't. About 1 in 200 people are born with a talent, but the type and strength can vary wildly. Some talents let a person predict tomorrow's weather with decent accuracy, while others can help crops grow faster, boost the strength of summon monsters, or even allow the use of ancient wild magic once wielded by dragons. But having a talent doesn't mean that it will ever be useful. If someone has a talent that boosts magical power, but never studies magic, that ability goes completely to waste. Because of that, people who lack talent and have yet to learn proper first tier magic are usually stuck using Zeroth tier spells. They can't move beyond that point unless they develop the skills or ability to progress in the higher tiers. Interestingly, even Ain's own Gon himself can't use Zeroth tier magic. Since it's native to the new world and not part of the Yggdrasil system, it's outside his reach. Other types of magic can replicate the appearance of Zeroth tier spells, but they can't fully recreate their true effects. Still, Ain's easily surpasses this limitation by being capable of casting high tier magic. Overall, Zeroth tier magic is more of a stepping stone than a weapon. It's handy for small chores and day-to-day convenience, but it lacks the efficiency and power to be used seriously. It's the kind of magic that marks the first beginning of a caster's journey. Basic, slow, and energy draining, but still the first spark of the vast magical hierarchy that dominates the world of Overlord.
Just cutting in here really quick, I recently partnered up with GamerSupps. A lot of you might have already heard about GamerSupps before. They're like the go-to for energy supplements for gamers and people that enjoy anime and manga. Pretty big in the community. It's a product with 0 sugar, less than 1 carb, and less than 1 calorie, so it's keto friendly and diabetic safe. So this is pretty big because I used to drink a lot of energy drinks, and it's both healthier and cheaper than just straight up buying energy drinks from the gas station or something. And on top of that, I'm sure some of you may love this, they also have these like very aesthetic waifu cups that of course are anime themed because, you know, waifu. And what's really cool is if you click the link in my description and use my code AnimeX, you'll get 10% off your order, and on top of that, you'll be helping this channel greatly. I wouldn't be recommending this stuff to you guys if I didn't use it myself. I literally drink it every day. Like, I'm drinking it right now as I record this video. The flavors are good, the service is amazing, you get your stuff very quickly. So make sure to use the link in my description and use my code to save some money.
Practical magic. First and second tiers. Practical magic covers the first and second tier spells in Overlord, and while they're considered the lowest tiers of real magic, they form the solid foundation that every caster depends on. They may not be as flashy or devastating as higher level spells, but they're the reason the world functions the way it does. These are the spells people rely on for work, healing, communication, and even basic survival. First tier magic is the most common level of spellcasting, comparable to the spells of level 1 to 7 players. It's where almost every mage starts, learning the ropes through long hours of practice. Technically, anyone can learn first tier magic with enough time and dedication, even without natural talent. However, it takes years of consistent effort for those who aren't gifted. Still, for those who push through, these spells can open up an entire career path. First tier casters can earn a stable income, working as hired spellcasters in towns or for local guilds. They may not live lavishly, but they definitely don't struggle to get by. The idea that magic requires innate talent isn't entirely true. Talent helps, but perseverance can get a person far enough to wield first-tier spells. These spells are mostly practical, designed to make daily life easier. For example, anti-evil protection helps ward off attacks from evil-aligned beings, a must-have for travelers or priests. Bunnytail reduces aggression towards the caster, useful for taming animals or de-escalating situations. Camouflage lets the user blend in with their surroundings by changing their skin color, a simple but effective survival tool seen in the web novel. The Slain Theocracy's Cardinals use Clean, a popular first-tier spell that removes dirt and grime from clothes, armor, or even entire rooms if combined with Widen magic. Everyday living also benefits from spells like Compass, which helps with navigation, and Create Water, which produces clean, drinkable water described as sweeter than natural sources. Skillcasters can generate larger volumes that don't spill over, making it a staple for travelers or settlements far from fresh springs. Offensive and utility spells are also part of this tier. Destruction Water lets a caster erase water instantly, which can harm water elementals or slimes when used skillfully. Floating Board creates a translucent platform to carry objects, a useful transportation spell for light cargo. Light Healing provides basic recovery, emitting a soft green glow that mends small wounds. Then there's Magic Arrow, one of the most iconic spells of this tier. It fires a mana projectile that never misses, regardless of the user's aim. Casters like Ainz use it with triplet maximized magic to multiply its power, while others like Obert and Iguva enhance it with different magical boosts. Even then, a single magic arrow still doesn't pack much punch. It's more about precision and consistency than raw damage. Other notable spells include Odorless, which hides the user's scent, Quick March, which boosts movement speed by around 20%, and Repair, a spell that restores damaged items but reduces their overall value if overused. Some spells improve physical abilities, like Rabbit Ears to sharpen hearing and Rabbit Food to boost luck. Sleep can induce drowsiness, easily broken if someone shakes the target awake. This tier even includes simple summoning spells like Summon Monster First, which calls forth minor elementals, or Summon Undead First, capable of raising zombie animals such as dogs. Even though first tier spells seem basic, their strength heavily depends on the caster. The same spell can have very different effects depending on the user's magical potential. Flute or Paradigm's Magic Arrow, for example, would be far stronger than a novice caster's version. The number of times one can cast per day also varies, making magical stamina an important factor. Among common folk, those who can use these spells are still valuable, providing services that make daily life easier. Moving up to the second tier magic is a huge leap. From level 8 to level 14, this is where talent begins to matter more. Only about 1 in 5 to 10,000 people can reach this level, making these casters rare and highly respected. For most ordinary magic users, achieving this tier is the dream. Those who make it this far enjoy status, comfort, and often noble connections. In the New World, second-tier casters are well-paid professionals. They're hired by lords, temples, or military units for their skill. It's a step up from useful worker to valuable asset. Second-tier spells are stronger, more refined, and often have wider application. Acid Arrow fires a bolt of corrosive energy capable of melting through armor and burning flesh. It's a straightforward but lethal spell when used in combat. Cure Disease treats illnesses, though it struggles against cursed ailments like demon fever. Vision-enhancing magic like Hawkeye improves sight dramatically, allowing users to spot targets from great distances, a perfect scouting tool. Invisibility is a huge jump from simple concealment spells, allowing the caster to vanish from sight entirely. Enhancement spells such as Lesser Strength and Lesser Dexterity temporarily boost physical attributes, giving warriors an edge in battle. The navigation spell, Mass Compass, works as an upgraded version of Compass, tracking multiple locations or people at once. Communication magic also improves significantly at this level. The spell Message connects users telepathically over distance. In Yggdrasil, it was limited to in-game communication, but in the New World, it functions as a magical link that seeks out its target's presence. When it connects, it feels like something reaching out to establish contact, a strange sensation, but incredibly useful for coordination. Protection of Energy Negative shields the target from dark or necrotic energy, a crucial defense against undead or cursed environments. For offense, Shockwave is a brutal second-tier spell that sends out invisible force waves capable of crushing plate armor. Ainz himself used the spell to obliterate castle gates, showing how devastating it can be in skilled hands. Sound manipulation spells also appear in this tier. Silence eliminates noise within an area, perfect for stealth missions or disrupting enemy spellcasters who rely on vocal incantations. Divine casters can use Summon Angel 2nd tier to call forth an Angel Guardian, a low-ranking celestial being used for protection or healing support. Everyday life also benefits from utility spells like Temperature Change, which adjusts water or room temperature for comfort. Then there's Thunderlance, a high-impact spell that launches a spear of lightning straight at the target, one of the most dangerous offensive options of this level. Reaching 2nd tier magic marks a true milestone in a caster's life. While 1st tier magic focuses on convenience and basic survival, 2nd tier spells start to shape real influence in combat, healing, or professional work. In practice, 1st and 2nd tier magic forms the backbone of the New World's magical society. They cover most of what people encounter in their daily lives: cleaning, healing, repairing, summoning, and protecting. Without these tiers, civilization would be far less efficient. Even though higher level magic exists, practical magic is what keeps the world running smoothly. Adept magic, 3rd through 4th tiers. Adept magic covers the 3rd and 4th tiers, the point where magic stops being merely useful and starts becoming dangerous. This is where a caster's skill begins to separate from the rest, and their spells start shaping the outcome of real battles. Those who reach this level aren't just spellcasters for hire anymore. They're individuals who can stand against monsters that wipe out villages, or even turn the tide of small wars. 3rd tier magic, comparable to the spells of level 15 through 21 players, is already considered impressive. Only the brightest minds and the most dedicated casters ever reach it. In the world of adventurers, a mage capable of using 3rd tier spells would likely qualify as a platinum ranked adventurer, people recognized for their ability to handle major threats. While lower tier magic can handle daily problems, this tier deals with real danger. Monsters that once required entire parties can be brought down by a skilled 3rd tier caster alone. Many spells under this tier introduce true battlefield level magic. Animate Dead and Create Undead are prime examples. Both allow the caster to raise lower tier undead minions from corpses, typically zombies or skeletons. Shao tier Bloodfallen takes this to another level thanks to her racial abilities, using Animate Dead to create lesser vampires instead. For most magic casters though, these spells serve as early tools for necromancy or army support. 3rd tier magic also introduces teleportation and elemental area attacks. Dimensional Move is a short-range teleport used as an escape spell, though it only works on the caster themselves. In battle, it's often the difference between life and death. For offense, Electrosphere generates a massive ball of lightning that expands outward, striking enemies across a wide area. Fireball is another 3rd tier staple, a large sphere of flame that bursts into a devastating explosion. These kinds of spells are the reason 3rd tier casters can challenge monsters that threaten entire towns. There are also elemental resistances and support magic that become essential for survival. Flame resistance, for instance, was used by Elazadark Halilau to overcome a frost dragon's natural weakness to fire. Fly grants aerial mobility, which changes the dynamics of any fight, especially when combined with other spells. Ainz himself can use Fly silently through silent magic, making it perfect for stealth and surprise attacks. Haste increased movement speed, often used alongside other buffs to enhance allies. On the divine side, Heavy Recover provides stronger healing than lower tier spells, while Holy Light deals significant damage to undead and evil-aligned creatures. For everyday magic users, even lifestyle spells at this tier get impressive upgrades. Hot Springs literally creates a functioning hot spring, believed to be a simplified imitation of the druid spell Geyser. Elemental Control also expands further with spells like Ice Ball, which mirrors Fireball but with freezing effects, and Lightning, which channels an electric strike that travels in a straight line, dealing heavy damage towards targets wearing metal armor. These kind of offensive spells start showing how much raw destructive power 3rd tier casters can bring to a battlefield. Lopsided Duel is one of the more strategic spells at this level. It binds the caster and target together so that if the target tries to teleport away, both appear in the same place. It even overrides the delayed teleportation effect. The risk is obvious. If the target teleports into a group of allies, the caster gets dragged there too. Before a patch in Idrisil, players could use this trick to teleport along with allies, but after the fix, it could only target enemies. Interestingly, the spell works one way. If the caster teleports away, the target doesn't follow, giving it tactical value in retreat. Debuff and summoning magic also evolve at this level. Slow decreases enemy movement, and Ions often uses it in combination with penetrate magic to bypass resistances. Intoma employs Spider Talisman, a 3rd tier level talisman spell that summons enormous spiders used for reconnaissance or delay tactics. Divine casters gain access to Summon Angel 3rd tier, allowing them to call an Archangel Flame, while more neutral spellcasters use Summon Monster 3rd tier to bring forth creatures like a glowing black-furred wolf with flames on its body or a large luminous bear. Necromancers use Summon Undead 3rd tier to command skeletal-type undead such as Skeleton Warriors. 3rd tier Divine casters can also use Sunlight, a spell that blinds enemies and burns undead, and Thunderball, a wide-range lightning attack that complements Electrosphere and raw area control. These spells showcase just how much versatile 3rd tier magic becomes: strong offense, solid defense, and a growing list of tactical applications. A caster at this level is no longer a novice. They're an adept mage capable of influencing the outcome of entire skirmishes. Moving up to the 4th tier magic is a leap that few ever make. This tier is the peak of what most humans can realistically achieve. Fluter Paradigm, the most skilled human magic caster in the Baharoth Empire, trained many disciples, but even his most talented acolytes never reach beyond this level. Reaching 4th tier magic requires both natural talent and a lifetime of commitment. Across the entire country, it's said that only around 5 people have achieved it. These are considered the elite, the geniuses of human magic. At this stage, casters gain enough power to destroy armies or eliminate monsters capable of wiping out entire cities. A 4th tier's caster strength equates roughly to a level 22 to 28 character in Idrisil, comparable to A+ rank adventurers or higher. Their spells start bending the rules of what normal magic can do, demonstrating precision, area control, and destructive output at an entirely different scale. Burn Lance is a typical offensive spell of this level, a piercing attack that deals heavy fire damage. Freeze Lance mirrors it with ice elemental damage, while Shock Lance delivers the same piercing force, but through electricity. Each of these spells has a focused trajectory, allowing them to pierce through armor and targets with precision. Silver Lance introduces a unique property. It carries the silver element, making it devastating against creatures weak to silver, such as certain undead or demonic beings. It deals extra damage to unarmored targets, though armor can significantly reduce its impact. Crystal Lance, used by Evil Eye during her fight with Intoma, launches a sharp crystalline projectile imbued with cold energy, demonstrating just how destructive and flexible 4th tier spells can be. These are spells designed for offense on a completely different level, the kind that can tear through ranks of enemies or bring down heavily fortified structures. But 4th tier magic isn't all about destruction. Charm Species manipulates the emotion of any creature, forcing the target to regard the caster as a friend. It's often used in interrogation or diplomacy, though it has its limitations. It can't force the target to reveal deep secrets or perform acts that would go against friendly intentions. Even so, it's powerful enough to sway creatures that would otherwise be hostile. Control Cloud allows manipulation of the weather to a limited degree, letting the caster alter or move clouds. It's an impressive display of environmental control, hinting at how far magic can go once a caster reaches this level. Dehydration, another 4th tier spell, drains the moisture from living beings, dealing massive damage to anything that isn't a water elemental, or otherwise aligned with water. Against organic creatures, the effects are brutal and efficient. Support and divine spells at this level also evolve dramatically. Holy Aura envelops the caster or their allies in divine energy, dealing passive damage to nearby evil-aligned beings. Holy Ray focuses that same energy into a concentrated beam that pierces through targets, a mix of offense and sanctified destruction. Grand Fireball is the upgraded version of the classic Fireball, producing a much larger explosion and far greater destructive range. 4th tier summoning magic also reaches a new level of complexity. Summon Angel 4th tier calls forth celestial beings such as Principality Observation or Principality Peace, both significantly stronger than the angels summoned in lower tiers. Necromancers can use Summon Undead 4th tier to summon undead roughly equal in power to a 4th tier caster, or multiple weaker ones similar to the 3rd tier summons. Iguva, a known necromancer, uses this spell to summon 4 skeleton warriors at once, showing how versatile it can be. Another tactical spell in this tier is Tremor Sense, which grants the caster the ability to detect movement through vibrations in the ground. It's particularly effective on solid surfaces, allowing casters to track enemies through floors or terrain. However, it can't detect movement through the air, so flying enemies remain out of range. Even with that limitation, it's a crucial defense spell in ambush-heavy situations. Compared to lower tiers, Adept magic is where versatility, intelligence, and raw powers start to merge. Magic of this level can command respect from kings and fear from enemies. For most casters, reaching 3rd tier already puts them among the elite, but 4th tier magic is something that few will ever experience. Advanced Magic, 5th through 6th tiers. The 5th and 6th tiers mark the true entry point into what can be called Advanced Magic. By this point, a magic caster stops being a simple combatant and starts becoming a force that can decide entire wars. The 5th tier alone is already rare enough that only a handful of humans have ever reached it, including the legendary 13 heroes who once fought to save the world. According to Maruyama, this tier represents the highest peak that humanity can reasonably reach through effort alone. Characters like the Blue Sky Dragonlord of the Argolin Council State, the slain Theocracy's Pontiff, and Evil Eye, who was once known as Landfall, are among the few who've achieved it. Reaching this level transforms a caster into something closer to a living weapon, capable of bending the rules of reality in limited but terrifying ways. By the 5th tier, magic is no longer about throwing fireballs or buffing allies. It's about reshaping the environment, manipulating life and death, and creating spells that can control the battlefield itself. One of the best known examples is Dragon Lightning, a 5th tier spell that fires a lightning bolt in the form of a dragon. It hunts and tracks down its target until the lightning finds its mark. Then there's Raise Dead, one of the earliest resurrection spells, which allows the caster to bring someone back to life at the cost of their vitality in 4 levels. However, it's far from perfect. Without a proper or intact body, the spell might fail completely. Evil Eye herself is known for a few devastating 5th tier spells, especially Sandfield, all of which covers the area in swirling sand particles. It's a brutal spell to use in teamfights since it affects everyone in range, but its effects are terrifying. Enemies caught inside are blinded, silenced, dazed, and unable to move. When Evil Eye combines this with her trump card, it even drains life from everything trapped within the storm. Another of her creations, Vermin Bane, was developed centuries ago during her battle with an insect demon god. It creates a mist that instantly kills insects within its range, though it leaves other organisms unharmed. The spell drains a massive amount of mana and is designed specifically to counter insect-type enemies, like Entoma, who can resist its effects. Necromancers gain a huge boost at this level as well, with Summon Undead 5th allowing them to call forth undead creatures like heavy skeleton warriors. It's a direct step up from the earlier tiers and adds some serious muscle to any battlefield. There's also teleportation, which enables instant travel over great distances, turning casters into unpredictable combatants who can appear and disappear at will. Another example, Undying Flame, coats a dragon's fangs and claws in bluish-white fire infused with both negative energy and flame damage, showing just how creative 5th tier spellcraft can get. But things get even more extreme once casters reach the 6th tier, which corresponds to levels 36 to 42. This level is almost unreachable for most of the New World inhabitants. In fact, it's said that only 4 humanoid casters on the entire continent are known to be capable of using 6th tier spells: Fluter Paradigm, the slain Theocracy's Pontiff, and possibly 2 others of unknown identity. Reaching this stage isn't just about talent or training. It usually requires being an outlier, someone far beyond the norm. For those who do manage to reach it, the title of most powerful magic caster in the New World isn't an exaggeration. It's a fact. 6th tier magic dives into large-scale effects and near-divine levels of restoration and destruction. Control weather is one of the best examples, allowing the caster to manipulate the weather itself. A skilled user can summon storms, change wind patterns, or clear skies entirely, shifting the tide of entire battles. Then there's Heal, a 6th tier spell capable of restoring massive amounts of health while curing diseases and abnormal status effects at once. It's an enormous upgrade over lower tier healing magic and can easily save entire groups from certain death. Other spells at this level demonstrate just how versatile 6th tier casters can be. Flamewing is an offensive spell that channels devastating magical fire, while Locate Object grants near instant detection of specific items, no matter where they're hidden. Fluter Paradigm himself is credited with creating Obey, a modified version of Summon Undead 6th tier that lets him control lower rank undead instead of simply summoning them. The original Summon Undead 6th tier spell calls forth mid-tier undead creatures that are far stronger and more intelligent than their lower tier counterparts, giving necromancers incredible battlefield control. The 6th tier marks the threshold between mortal and divine magic. Anything beyond this level enters territory that few beings, human or otherwise, can even comprehend. Master Magic, 7th through 8th tiers. The 7th and 8th tiers mark the realm of Master Magic, the point where spellcasting moves from impressive to nearly divine. While most people in the New World spend their entire lives just trying to reach the 2nd tier, the idea of 7th tier spells alone sounds like something out of a fairy tale. Even most scholars and magic users don't believe that such magic truly exists. The few who have heard about it treat it as a myth, and for good reason. Humans can't normally use 7th tier magic on their own. The only way for them to cast it is through massive magical rites or ceremonial rituals, like those practiced by the slain theocracy. These rituals are incredibly dangerous and often end in disaster, but they're one of the few methods that allows mortals to touch this level of power. Legends claim that the 13th heroes could use 7th tier spells, though no solid evidence has ever surfaced. It's more rumor than record, but it's enough to keep the stories alive. Some believe that the demon gods, also known as the evil deities, wielded 7th tier magic as well. Whether those beings actually existed or not, the tales of their spells are terrifying. The fact that no one can confirm them only makes them seem more otherworldly. Even among the most talented casters, few can even grasp what magic beyond the 6th tier could look like. The author himself explained that nearly no one in the New World even knows these higher tiers exist, and if the public ever found out, it could cause panic. To them, the 6th tier is already legendary. Anything beyond that sounds like something gods would use. Historically, tiered magic first appeared around 500 to 600 years before the main story timeline. Since then, only a handful of magic users have ever been recorded reaching high levels, and most of those accounts come from mythic sagas. There's one particular story about a hero who used a spell so overwhelming that people concluded it couldn't be achieved even with 7th tier magic. Whether that was true or not, it shows how limited people's understanding of these levels really is. One rare moment of confirmation happens when Rakashir, the head of the Magician's Guild in Irantel, sees Momin holding a crystal containing an 8th tier spell. That sight alone shatters his understanding of magic, proving that what he thought were myths might actually be real. For Yggdrasil-born beings like Ainz and the NPCs of Nazarick, 7th tier spells are completely normal. They treat this tier as mid-level magic, even though to the people of the New World, it's the stuff of divine miracles. At this point, the power difference between a Yggdrasil caster and a native is almost laughable. The 7th tier includes a wide range of destructive, restorative, and summoning spells, each capable of wiping out armies or raising them from the dead. One of the most destructive examples is Chain Dragon Lightning, which sends out a dragon-shaped lightning that tears through targets and even arcs towards nearby enemies. It's especially deadly against anyone wearing metal armor. Create Greater Item is another spell originally designed in Yggdrasil to craft weapons, but can also produce items like furniture in the New World, showing how magic at this level can reshape materials freely. Focus Magic lets a caster enhance a ally's spellcasting ability, amplifying their next move for greater effect. Greater Teleportation takes mobility to another level, allowing instant travel without any distance limits. It even ensures the caster arrives at a safe spot if the target area is occupied, making it incredibly reliable. Greater Word of Curse is another 7th tier spell, mainly used as an intimidation tactic in close combat by Ainz himself. Then there's Hellflame, a spell that fires a tiny black flame onto a target. That small flicker quickly becomes an inferno that burns everything to ash, body and soul alike. Hellfire Wall works differently, trapping victims inside a circle of black flames that incinerate not the body, but the soul. The spell's psychological effect alone makes it terrifying. Some 7th tier spells focus on divine power. Holy Smite is cast by beings like Dominion Authority, enveloping its target in a column of pure light that deals tremendous damage to those aligned with evil. Napalm creates a massive column of fire next to its target, engulfing them instantly. Then there's Phoenix Flame, one of the rare resurrection spells at this level. It allows a caster to revive themselves after death, consuming an immense amount of mana. When revived, they return with only minimal health, and the spell also releases a burst of flame around them that burns nearby enemies. It's one of the few defenses against instant death spells, like the goal of all life is death. Resurrection serves a similar function, but is used to bring others back to life. It's much stronger than lower tier revival spells, capable of returning even powerful beings from the dead. Shining Burst is another potent spell. dealing devastating area effect damage to evil creatures and the undead. The lower a target's karma, the more damage it suffers, while those with hard karma take little to none. Summon Angel 7th tier allows the caster to summon celestial beings like Dominion Authority, angelic entities capable of using Holy Smite themselves. Undead Army turns the battlefield into chaos by summoning an entire army of undead, overwhelming any opponent through sheer numbers. Moving into the 8th tier means entering the realm of the mythical. These spells, ranging from level 50 to 56, are considered completely beyond what any natural being in the New World can achieve. Only certain undead beings, like Night Liches, are known to have the potential to learn 8th tier spells. In the web novel, there's an explanation for how a human might reach this level, but it involves an enormous ritual. At the center of the ceremony is a caster capable of using 5th tier magic, supported by numerous others capable of 3rd tier spells. Even then, the ritual only boosts their magic by 2 tiers, and it likely requires some kind of powerful device. The resources and manpower needed to perform such a feat are so immense that only a major nation, like the Slain Theocracy, could realistically support it. 8th tier spells operate on a completely different level of sophistication. Aspect of Elemental is an 8th tier druid spell that grants the caster resistances similar to elemental beings, making them immune to poison, disease, and even critical hits. It effectively turns the user into a living elemental for the duration. Astral Smite targets ethereal beings, dealing heavy damage to entities that exist partially or fully on another plane. Even those who temporarily shift into an ethereal state aren't safe from it. One of the most iconic spells in this tier is simply called Death. It's a single target instant kill spell that completely destroys the target's soul, bypassing conventional defenses. Unless the victim has an anti-death countermeasure, the spell guarantees death upon impact. Ainz often uses this spell in combination with silent magic, making it impossible for enemies to detect or react before it's too late. Dimensional Lock is another crucial spell that can completely shut down teleportation or spatial movement. Demiurge is known to have it as part of his skill set, and it's said that only the highest ranking angels and devils are capable of using it. Once the spell is active, no one can teleport in or out of the area, effectively trapping the target. Distort Moral is a more mysterious spell. Its full effects unknown, but it likely manipulates the target's sense of morality or perception of right and wrong, something that could be devastating in psychological warfare. Necromancers at this level gain access to Energy Drain, a spell that not only drains an opponent's life force, but also steals their levels, granting the caster healing and other benefits depending on how much they absorb. It's both an attack and a restoration spell, making it extremely efficient. In the web novel, Explosion is considered an 8th tier spell, an incredibly destructive burst of energy that vaporizes everything in its radius. Insanity is another spell from this tier, likely inducing madness or mind-breaking effects on its victims, which fits the nature of 8th tier mental domination. Planar Eye, seen in the web novel, is an 8th tier divination spell used for reconnaissance. The Slain Theocracy once used it through a large ritual to spy on Nazarick, but even this high-level magic wasn't strong enough to overcome Nazarick's defenses. Remote viewing serves a similar purpose, creating an arcane eye that follows the caster to view distant locations in real time. The 8th tier represents the highest level of magic ever recorded in the New World outside of Idrisil influence. To the people of the New World, 7th and 8th tier spells are proof that gods once walked among them, and that some remnants of their power still remain in the hands of Ain's own Gon. Archmage Magic, 9th through 10th tiers. Archmage Magic marks the final threshold of mortal spellcasting in Overlord. This stage covers 9th and 10th tier magic, the last level before stepping into the godlike territory of super tier spells. Only the greatest casters in Idrisil could reach this point, and in the New World, this kind of magic sits far beyond ordinary comprehension. Those who wield it can alter reality, crush souls, and rewrite existence itself. Most New World beings can't even begin to grasp the mechanics behind these spells, let alone survive them. The 9th tier corresponds to levels 57 to 63, where a caster starts tapping into near divine power. At this level, spells can instantly kill, resurrect, or erase someone from existence entirely. The most famous example comes from Ainz himself, who demonstrated the 9th tier spell True Death to eliminate Gaz of Stronov. Unlike simple death magic, True Death doesn't just stop a person's heart or drop their HP, it annihilates their soul. Lower tier resurrection spells fail to bring the victim back. Only the highest forms of revival magic can even attempt to undo it. This single spell alone highlights how much the 9th tier separates true magic casters from everyone else. Another noteworthy figure is Decim Hogan, the first confirmed new worlder capable of casting both 9th and 10th tier spells. His existence alone proves that with enough talent and study, mortals can reach the ceiling of Yggdrasil level sorcery. But even among beings of that caliber, the diversity of spells in this tier shows just how deep the system goes. Take Bliss of Titania for example. It's a 9th tier spell that summons a tiny fairy who acts as a guide. With the Fairy Queen's help, the caster and their allies are led along the safest route possible. When combined with Extend Magic, Ainz can extend the spell's duration, turning this simple guidance spell into a long-term advantage in dangerous territories. Called Greater Thunder unleashes the strongest single-target lightning strike of its class. Multiple strands of electricity merge into a colossal thunderbolt that obliterates whatever it touches. The impact demonstrates the raw destructive potential of this tier. Crack in the Ground functions as a divine spell that splits the earth beneath an enemy, trapping their leg in a fissure. While it might seem less flashy than other spells, it's a good example of how 9th tier magic isn't all about destruction. Some of it's about precision and control. Then there's Elemental Form, which grants the caster elemental properties similar to Aspect of Elemental from the 8th tier. It boosts elemental affinity and enhances resistance, showing how higher tier magic often improves or evolves older techniques rather than replacing them outright. Ainz also uses God's Eye, an advanced surveillance spell that creates an invisible, intangible observer capable of passing through walls and barriers. It's far stronger than remote viewing, but not invincible. Even a 2nd tier detection spell can spot it, and if it's destroyed, the caster takes feedback damage. Since it counts as a divination spell, the enemy can trace it back to its source or trigger magical defenses. It's a high-risk, high-reward spell that fits perfectly into Ainz's tactical playstyle. When it comes to instant death magic, Grasp Heart reigns supreme. The caster literally crushes the victim's heart from afar, causing immediate death. If the target somehow resists, they're left stunned or stupefied, making them easy prey. Ainz calls this his favorite spell for a reason. It bypasses conventional defense and directly attacks the soul. Anyone without an anti-death countermeasure is simply done for. Greater Rejection cancels out Greater Summon, denying the opponent's ability to call reinforcements. It's the magical equivalent of cutting communication lines in battle. Then there's Lead of Yatakarasu, which conjures a 3-legged crow that guides the caster through dungeons using the shortest path. Just like Bless of Titania, this spell has utility more than offense, and when combined with Extend Magic, it becomes invaluable during long explorations. The infamous Nuclear Blast is one of the most visually destructive 9th tier spells. When used with Maximized Magic, it creates an explosion so massive that everything between the caster and the target is consumed instantly, including the caster themselves if they're not careful. The spell deals composite damage, half fire, half bludgeoning, and while it's not the most powerful in raw output, its massive area of effect make it devastating. The explosion can wipe out buildings and structures, and even cause status effects like blindness, deafness, and poisoning. Against beings on the level of evil lords, though, the sheer force alone isn't enough. Still, Ainz can combine it with Widened Magic to increase its destructive radius even more. Perfect Unknowable takes invisibility to its peak. It erases every trace of the caster, visuals, sound, even the pitch of their voice. Only expert thief-type classes or beings with advanced perception could detect someone cloaked in it. It's ideal for stealth, assassination, or evasion tactics, making it a favorite among magic casters who prefer to work unseen. Polar Claw creates a freezing claw of air as cold as the poles. It lacks fancy effects but delivers the highest DPS of any ice-based spell known. Its simplicity and raw damage make it an efficient choice for quick kills. Tempest summons violent storms that damage weaker enemies and block visibility. It can even cancel out obstructive spells, like Fog, which Ainz once demonstrated during his fight with Decim Hogan. Temporal Stasis freezes a single target in time. The victim can't move, attack, or even take damage while the spell lasts. It's mainly used in multi-enemy fights, where immobilizing one opponent gives the caster breathing room. True Resurrection is one of the most vital 9th tier spells. It brings back the dead without turning them into ash or husk. While the revived person does lose some levels, it's a far better alternative to lower tier resurrection spells that might destroy the body entirely. This spell also shows how versatile high tier casters can be. They can kill with one spell and bring someone back with another. Vermilion Nova focuses firepower into a blazing pillar of flame that engulfs the target completely. The spell scales to the opponent's size and hits without warning, leaving no time to defend. Ainz describes it as his strongest single-target anti-personnel fire spell, and it can be enhanced even further with triplet magic and maximize magic. It's unblockable, precise, and utterly merciless. The 10th tier pushes even further. It's reserved for levels 64 to 70, a point where mortals essentially start touching the domain of divine beings. The Nameless Book of Spells confirms its existence, and only a handful of individuals, like Evil Eye, are even aware of it. Most New World casters can't even begin to imagine spells of this level, and even within Ain's own Gone, only the top-tier magic users had consistent access to them. Armageddon Evil opens a gateway that calls forth an army of demons. In Yggdrasil, the demons it summons weren't particularly strong, but in the New World, even weak ones can cause chaos. Because these summons can go berserk, players mainly use this spell for sacrifices or ritual setups rather than combat. The Body of Effulgent series represents a group of highly specialized defensive enhancements. Body of Effulgent Barrel reduces bludgeoning damage and completely negates one hit of that type. Body of Effulgent Aquamarine does the same for piercing damage, while Body of Effulgent Heliodor protects against slashing attacks. Each version provides total immunity to one strike, showing how advanced defense magic becomes at this tier. Control Amnesia is a psychological spell that manipulates the target's memories. Ainz had tested it on NPCs, like CZ2128 Delta, adjusting their personalities and even tweaking parts of their creator-defined backstories. The spell's power extends beyond memory erasure. It can modify traits and even alter the very nature of beings like bicorns. It's mind control and reality editing rolled into one. Create Fortress literally builds a massive tower over 30 meters tall out of nothing. In Yggdrasil, teammates could enter freely, but in the New World, even allies find the doors sealed unless they physically break them. Inside lies an expansive interior, illuminated by magical lights, complete with staircases and multiple levels that are spatially larger on the inside than the outside. It's both a fortress and a dimensional construct. Implosion forces the targets to collapse inward, crushing them from the inside. It's a clean, efficient, and horrifyingly final way to end a fight. Mercy of Sharia Robusta is a 10th tier druid spell, known for its high mana cost and multiple effects. First, it provides gradual HP recovery over time. Second, it grants total immunity to instant death. Third, it automatically resurrects the target upon death without causing any level loss. The resurrection only triggers if death is caused by damage. Things like drowning still bypass it. The revived person returns with minimal HP, so it's not perfect, but it's often enough to save a life. Remarkably, this spell can even counter Ainz's ultimate skill. The goal of all life is death, since that attack counts as instant death magic. The trade-off is that the resurrection effect ends immediately after activation. The guild once used Mirror World, a high-level illusion spell that traps the users in a hemispherical bubble. From the inside, they can see out perfectly, but outsiders only see the surrounding background, making the casters effectively invisible. It can also reflect a portion of incoming attacks, serving both stealth and defense purposes. Mist of Super Acid creates a deadly acidic fog that melts everything caught inside. The mist deals damage over time and corrodes weapons and armor, though at a minor rate. Ainz can stand inside it unaffected due to a built-in condition that spares the caster. Meteorfall drops an actual meteor from the sky. The spell binds onlookers with its light before the impact vaporizes the target area in a massive explosion. The result is total devastation. Anything caught in the blast radius is flattened or incinerated instantly. Nature's Shelter is another divine 10th tier spell that summons an earthen bunker with an illusionary sky ceiling. It's durable enough to withstand super tier spells, with only the Sword of Damocles capable of destroying it. The interior mimics open space, providing a sense of calm even during sieges. Reality Slash cuts through space itself. It's one of the strongest attack spells in the entire system, rivaled only by world-class magic. It's considered a lesser version of World Break, but still consumes enormous mana. When combined with triplet maximized magic, Ainz creates 3 rifts that slice through reality, ignoring almost every kind of defense. Stream of Lava channels Divine Fire to engulf targets in molten energy, dealing pure fire-type damage. Summon Monster 10th tier and Summon Undead 10th tier call forth the most powerful creatures available to a magic caster. Shalltear uses the former to bring in higher tier beasts, while Ainz uses the latter to summon a Doom Lord, a towering undead capable of fighting toe-to-toe with powerful adventurers. Time Stop halts the entire world for a short period, freezing everything but the caster. No attacks can be performed while timed to stop, but is perfect for setting traps or repositioning. When paired with silent magic, it becomes almost impossible to detect before activation. Ultimate Disturb drastically increases an ally's magic resistance at the cost of disabling their spell casting. It's meant for frontline defenders like Buku Buku Chigama who can then take even an Asura's full strength hit and survive. Finally, Uriel stands as the fire element spell that scales with the caster's karma. The purer the caster's karma, the stronger the flames. For a maxed out good aligned caster, Uriel deals catastrophic fire damage, but for someone like Ainz, whose karma is deeply negative, it barely matches the strength of a low tier spell. This is what defines Archmage magic, the peak of mortal sorcery, where the difference between life and death, existence and erasure, lie in a single cast. Super tier magic. Super tier magic in Overlord is the level of magic that goes beyond everything the New World or even Yggdrasil had previously defined. Coined unofficially as the 11th tier by the Theocracy's Cardinals, is what the players of old called super tier magic, or magic of the gods. While traditional magic caps at 10th tier, super tier breaks that ceiling, operating less like conventional spells and more like innate godlike abilities. Casters can unleash these powers without spending any MP, though each spell carries its own activation time and limitations. Every player who reaches level 71 gains access to one super tier spell per level, but initial use is limited to once per day. Additional uses come with higher levels, roughly one extra use per 10 levels, so a max level player, around 100, could cast these spells at least 4 times daily, amassing a staggering arsenal of roughly 30 super tier abilities. These spells require preparation, often leaving the caster vulnerable during activation, and can be interrupted by long-range attacks, teleportation ambushes, or heavy bombardment. Defensive support is essential while a super tier spell is being cast, and once used, all team members face a cooldown, preventing repeated immediate usage. These measures were implemented in Yggdrasil to prevent guild wars from being decided purely by who could unleash the most super tier magic. While no specific class is exclusive to this tier, certain special class skills and events can unlock unusual super tier abilities, sometimes functioning almost like cheats or secret tricks. Offensive super tier magic redefines destruction and control on a scale unseen in lower tiers. Creation allows the caster to manipulate terrain itself, reshaping entire landscapes. In Yggdrasil, it was capable of covering the 8th floor of Nazarick entirely, regulating environmental hazards like volcanic heat or freezing conditions. Fallen Down unleashes a massive pillar of blue light from the sky, so bright it turns the world white for a few moments before leaving everything in its radius burned to cinders. This spell is particularly deadly against undead, leaving nothing alive in its wake. Similarly, Shub Niggurath summons a black cyclone that instantly kills living targets within range, sacrificing them to the goddess Shub Niggurath. The number of monstrous dark young summoned by the goddess depend on the victims used in this spell, but the total appears to cap at 5. Great Malediction, also known as curse-killing poison, delivers lethal effects on a massive scale, though details about its mechanics are rare and guarded due to its dangerous nature. Summoning magic reaches unparalleled heights in super-tiered spells. Pandemonium calls forth 6 level 80 demon-type monsters, while Pantheon summons 6 level 80 holy-type cherubim gatekeepers under the caster's command. Ainz activates Pantheon using multiple magical artifacts, including the Cross, Crown of Thorns, and Japamala. Even angels can be brought into play with unnamed Zeroth Empyrean summoning, capable of calling the highest-ranking Zeroth Empyrean into battle. Meanwhile, Sword of Damocles functions as an orbital weapon designed to strike structures from above. It's one of the few spells capable of breaching the 10th tiered Nature's Shelter and can nearly destroy entire floors of Nazarick, highlighting the sheer scale and destructive potential of super tier magic. Other offensive spells include Wish Upon a Star, a reality-altering magic that converts the caster's EXP into potential outcomes. In Yggdrasil, it generated random choices for the caster based on how much EXP was spent, with the number of options increasing proportionally. In the New World, the spell's effect evolved to grant wishes directly, turning the impossible into reality. While powerful, the spell consumes substantial resources, and the strength of its outcome scales with the EXP or level sacrifice, allowing for extraordinary feats, but at a tremendous personal cost. Defense super tier magic is equally formidable, though it often functions differently from lower tier spells. Because activation of these spells require time and focus, protections are commonly layered around the caster. Using a super tier ability can lower defenses and place the user at risk of interruption. Strategic positioning, supporting allies, and protective enhancements are crucial to ensure the spell completes successfully. While not always directly creating shields, these magic effects alter battle conditions, fortify positions, and maintain survivability through both preparation and timing. The essence of super tier magic is its scale and versatility. It allows a caster to affect entire landscapes, alter life and death, manipulate divine forces, and summon entities of tremendous power. In effect, super tier magic turns the battlefield into an extension of the caster's will, amplifying skill, strategy, and planning to levels far beyond what conventional spells can achieve. At this tier, magic transcends its typical boundaries. It is no longer simply about damage or protection. It becomes a tool for creation, control, and absolute influence over the environment, life, and reality itself. Casters like Ainz and other top-tier players exploit this power carefully, coordinating allies, protecting themselves during activation, and choosing targets and timing with precision. The interplay between risk, preparation, and effect defines super-tier magic, making it as much about intelligence and strategy as raw magical power. The consequences of these spells are immense. Entire floors of dungeons can be destroyed, armies defeated before engagement, terrain reshaped, and the flow of battle altered in seconds. Even other top-level casters are forced to respond strategically, as the potential of a single super tier spell can render conventional defenses meaningless. Their use demands foresight, patience, and coordination, ensuring that tremendous destructive and creative potential is harnessed without disaster. At this point, magic no longer serves merely as a weapon or tool. It becomes a fundamental extension of the caster's ability to impose their will on the world, operating on a scale and with precision that defines the apex of sorcery and Overlord.